hey, is that 5 waves up in Bitcoin and Ethereum and pretty much every other altcoin? It just might be. We might just have a bullish impulse across the crypto space. This is the sign we look for to give us an initial indication that the crash may be over. And well, it's surprisingly strong across all the cryptos, and we definitely have such a thing in the equities markets, but that doesn't mean that we're out of the woods just yet. And well, things could go back down or we may take off, but right now we're looking for a 3-wave corrective wave back, which could give us the ultimate buying opportunity. So this is Bitcoin, and I'm going to be covering Bitcoin and Ethereum in this video mainly. There will be lots more content on a variety of cryptos in the coming days, as well as details on my new crypto risk reward scoring system. So there will be a lot of content that I'll busy at work putting those out. But this is our short-term chart, as we always have, 5-minute chart. And I did make a post late last night that we looked like we had 5 waves up, and well, now we have a really full-looking 5 waves up. I'm going to get this out of the way here. We got a 1, 2, a 3rd wave blow off, and then a slow 4th wave consolidation, and a 5th wave up. When I put the MACD back up, you can see that we were overbought in the 3rd wave, and we had a divergence going up, which is typically what you see in the top of an impulse. This looks good here. Same thing with Ethereum, where we had the exact same thing. As a matter of fact, Ethereum's blow off 5th wave top is almost a little too high, but it fits all the rules of Elliott wave theory. We got our 1st wave, whether it's back here or back here, not sure which one. It could be a fractal toppy where you have a 1 or a 3, 4, and a blow off 5th wave, whatever it is. The proportions look right. This looks like 5 up. It looks robust. There's other signs of the big picture why we might be done with the crash. We'll get to that in a few minutes. So what are we looking at over the next day or two, maybe over the next week? We may have already begun our correction. I'm going to move this out of the way just to show what we got. This is the 5th wave top. This would presumably be the A wave down. Could be an impulse, could be 3 waves down. I would think we're in the B wave bounce, and we would have a C wave to come down after that. So when I put this thing back in here, it's essentially following this pattern. We would expect a 3-wave correction. This is a very good thing. You want a 3-wave correction to give us more of an indication that this is actually corrective pullback and that we have more overhead. And I draw out the extensions just to give us an idea of where this thing could end up if I take the A wave and then build the extension off of the B wave top. I'm going to presume that the B wave goes a little bit higher than we are right now. It targets right in this box. So we may have a buying opportunity right below 38,000 to as low as about 36.9, maybe low 36,000, something like that. I'd expect our box to be a pretty good high probability region for where this pullback pulls back to. I'm going to delete this. Now this is a retrace. So if we build a retrace off that top, this is the 23.6% retrace. This is you don't expect a wave to be this shallow. It can happen. We've seen this in the S&P 500 before, but I'd fully expect us to have at least a 30.2% retrace. That's what this box, the top of this box indicates, to a 61.8% retrace. And technically it doesn't validate until we go through the bottom at, was it 34,338? So really, we could have a very deep retrace if possible. If that happens, good. If we break below the 76.5%, 76.4% retrace, which is 35,728, then we may have a lower low coming. That's Bitcoin, Ethereum. The story is pretty much identical. We are presumably in a B wave bounce for this wave 2. So we may be getting down into that box relatively soon. And the box for Ethereum calculates to about what, 26.59 to about 25.22. So pretty small envelope in which it could go. I actually think that Ethereum could pull back a little bit more sharply. If you've noticed, Ethereum is almost like a leverage version of Bitcoin to some extent, where we rally more strongly, we also crash more strongly. So we might see a deeper retrace, relatively speaking, in Ethereum. That would be your BTFD zone. That's what I got here. And our retrace, bottom of the box being 61.8%, is again a standard retrace. So this is what we call the classic 1-2 setup. This is what we always look for in Elliott wave theory, where you have a 5-wave impulse up for your first wave and a 3-wave pullback down, a corrective pullback. A 1-2 is the setup, is the bullish setup. If you invert it the other way, it could be a 1-2 setup to the downside. We had that earlier, late last year before the crash. But this is what we're looking for. Remember, I may have been expecting lower low, but when the market gives us a sign like this, it could mean that it's going to go up sooner than we were expecting, which makes things very interesting here. So this is the Bitcoin chart, bigger picture for our chart. I was leaning towards purple being our primary, and that would call for a deeper drop into this box here, the blue violet box, whatever this is. And when you look at the structure, it really looks like it needs a lower low just because you have a 1, 2, 3, 4. And well, is this the truncated 5th? It's not totally clear. There is the potential that this is actually an A, B, and a C wave down because of the ending diagonal nature of this C wave. You would expect a 3-wave pattern to finish our flush down. So our 5th wave should take an ABC form. So it could. Now, I really doubt it would go that low. Probably something like this, maybe into this region, upper 20,000s range, somewhere north of 24,000. It's still there, but this sign, actually, I'm going to change it right here. This is my alt pattern. So my purple is the alt just because of what we're seeing. So far, the green is actually going to be primary until we invalidate it. So for now, I'm thinking this is where we are. But really, this is just by a hair. It's 50-50 right now. So the reason I say is, again, we have quite a downside setup. And going back to our small-term picture, short-term picture, if we break down to the bottom, then we're probably going to free fall all the way down to whatever our target is. So we have this is a very good sign. We need a confirmation. We get a three-wave pullback into this box somewhere, maybe a little lower, and then we need to exceed the top of the previous fifth wave, the first wave top. That would be our confirmation that we're well off. That'll also align with where we buy. But anyway, back to the big picture. Green is just primary by a hair. We need this thing to pull back correctively. You can see how you can see just a tiny little bit of bullish movement here and how we're pulling back. And then we need to go back over the top. In the big picture, this isn't particularly impressive just yet. But here's the interesting, the green pattern did call for this being the bottom back here on January 24th. And therefore, this entire setup where it's a first wave up and a second wave down is still valid. In Bitcoin, at least, we retrace below the 76.4% retrace point. But in Ethereum, we hit the 76.4% retrace on the dot, almost to the penny. So it could easily count as a conventional conventional three-wave correction down in A, B, C. And you could even interpret this as being a 1-2 setup. I don't like the structure here. In the Bitcoin, it's definitely looking more like a corrected ABC up, but it could be, it's market does what the market wants. So if that is the case, things are very exciting because, again, this would be the first subwave of a larger fifth wave pattern. And I'm actually going to shift to the bigger picture for that, which will help shed some light on this thing. So we have our third wave rally that topped in May of 2021 for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and pretty much all the cryptos that have been around a while. That would mean that that bottom in midsummer really was the fourth wave. We didn't get the lower low, so it makes it less likely that this is actually the bottom of the fourth wave. Our fourth wave may have actually bottomed back here. If that's the case, if we're following green, that means we have a 1-2 setup already. And the exciting thing is if you take that 1-2 setup and extend that out, if you do some Fibonacci math on that, that's what this extension here is. Well, let me put it this way. We got a lot overhead. I'm actually going to look at Ethereum because it looks like it fits the big picture pattern a little bit better. If we project this as a 1-2 setup, our third wave could get over $9,000. As far as 11,600, that would just be the subwave 3. If you watch my video on the risk reward calculation, that would be our near-term, short-term target. Again, if I do go with this interpretation of the pattern, our fifth wave would go up to at least 13,000, maybe up to 17,000. And as crazy as it sounds, there is Fibonacci confluence there. So if we look at the big picture, if I draw a third wave top to the fourth wave and take a Fib extension of that, the 0.32, 0.5 to the 0.618 region, there's confluence there. So I'm not going to fixate too much on that. Point is, we got ourselves a bullish setup in place. We got a few more things we need to prove. And as for my buying strategy, as I mentioned, I do plan to buy a tranche in here. So what I'll be looking for is, of course, we need this final leg, the third leg of this correction to come down the C wave. And I would prefer that the C wave have an impulsive 5-wave pattern down. So it looks something like this. So let's assume the B wave bounces a little higher. We might have something like this, 3, 4, 5, something like that. Maybe the fourth wave has a bit more of a dog leg to it, something like that. That's what I would expect our C wave to look like in Ethereum and Bitcoin. If I see that, I'll buy a 50% tranche down here. That is the plan. Assuming this is the actual pattern in operation, we would see a bounce from there. And I'm just going to draw a line to show what that would look like. It looks something like this. You see that bounce up. Once it surpasses that top, so the top here was about 40,300, something like that, I would buy my remainder there. That is the official plan. However, as I mentioned, there is a risk that this is just a corrective bounce because no matter how good of an impulse it looks like, sometimes it isn't. Corrective waves do what corrective waves want, especially their corrective waves are they're variable. So sometimes they look like impulses, sometimes they look like zigzags, sometimes they just look like a bunch of gobbledygook, whatever. If this thing breaks below the 76.4% retrace, there's a chance we have that lower low again in the mid-20s region, maybe $26,000, $27,000, something like that. So really, it is up to you. For some cryptos, I'll buy here. Other cryptos, I may wait for more of a bounce and then buy. Especially a lot of the altcoins, such as Bitcoin Cash. I actually had the pattern up here a second ago because that one has already pulled back so deeply that I don't think there's too much downside left from where we are. It could get into this teal box. Other cryptos have already fallen into that region. We're going to shift to the bigger chart for EOS real quick. Here we go. So we actually got in the box. So really, there isn't much downside left. So those, I would be a little less risk averse on those. So really depends on your strategy. Good buying opportunity. If you're more conservative than that, what you could do is you could wait for this whole thing to develop and then buy. So where I would buy my second tranche, and again, my tranches are more or less 50-50. That would be my first purchasing tranche. My second one would be up here. The longer you wait, the less risk it is. But the longer you wait, the less of a return there is. However, in altcoins, we have so much upside. There's so much meat on the bone. Buying up there, you're not losing anything. If you're more conservative than that, even maybe buy a good chunk here and then you just dollar cost average on the way up. It's really up to you and your strategy. So it is a 50-50 kind of thing. There's some cryptos that, again, I might buy on a bigger bounce. So EOS actually has a clear setup like this. So I might wait for a bigger 1-2. I'm going to do that for coins like Filecoin, for example. There's a few I have that I wouldn't buy until the initial first wave rally and then the second wave pullback, something like that. Even in Bitcoin, caution may be warranted because, again, on the big picture, this bounce isn't particularly impressive. You can hardly see it. And if you do a fib extension off what we have so far, I would expect a larger impulse wave to take us up to $49,000 to $50,000. And if we have a pullback from there for a bigger wave too, that might be the final true point of entry. So that could be another place to buy. Just a lot of ways to go over it. I'm going to cover more of those details as we go, but I just want to put this video out there so you guys know what I'm seeing, what I'm going to be approaching, how I'm going to be approaching this. The purchase may happen tomorrow, it may happen Monday, it may happen Tuesday. Let's just see how the market goes. We are in, again, what looks like a B wave bounce. B waves can be slow, they can be sideways. However, if we see a spike down, that might be your indication, especially with the MACD doing what it's doing. I'm actually going to show on Bitcoin. MACD is actually showing a divergence. So, you know, we're very oversold on December 4th, not as oversold on January 24th, 22nd, whatever that was. And well, you can just see how we're getting less and less oversold as we go. So it's indicating a shift in sentiment. We're seeing even more signs of that in altcoins. So stay tuned. I'm going to be presenting my spreadsheet of the risk reward scores and going over each of the cryptos over the next few days. So I'm going to be cranking out videos like crazy. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss those. And if you enjoy my video, don't forget to give me a like. Till next time, thanks for watching and happy trading.